This is the practice test 7 for exponential and log functions. So I feel like the practice test is probably better to go through because then I can talk about test strategies which are not only useful in my class but other classes, and eventually if you take the SAT or ACT, it works on there too. Okay, so number 1, what function represents exponential growth? Okay, we know growth has to be greater than 1. If it was decay, it'd be less than 1. So I just go through these and figure out which one of these is greater than 1. So 12 over 15 is not, 1 over 17 is not, 7 over 11 is not, but that one is. So my answer is F. So growth or decay, you're just looking for greater than 1 or less than 1. Number 2, what is the asymptote for the function? Okay, so on exponential functions, my asymptote is k. Whoa. So asymptote y equals k, which on this one is 17. So look at that. G is my answer. That was easy. Now, what is the asymptote for this function? Now it's a log. So for logs, my asymptote is x equals h. You have to remember, though, that h always flips. So there's h right there. So it's negative 19 would actually be positive 19. And there's positive 19 right there. So h. Alright, 4. Convert the following to log form. Okay, well, if we convert, remember we have our base, our x, and our a. And to get a log, we want log base of a equals x. So my 343 should still be my base. So if I go through these, that's wrong, okay. These are okay. And then notice, here's my exponent, but it ends up on the other side, so my x switches places with my a. So that means I should be equal to negative 1/3, which is right here, not right there. That's D. Okay, that didn't take very long. Convert the following back. Okay, so now I'm going back, and again, the most important thing is my base remains my base. And then here's my a, here's my x. So now I want b to the x equals a. So my base should be that fraction, and I should now equal 22. So if I go through here, my base is 1 over 484. Okay, that means this is wrong, these are okay, and I should equal 22, right? Because they switch places. I equal 22, so my answer is U. And we already did a whole page, and it's only been 3 minutes. And that's with me explaining stuff too. Alright, condense the expression. Well, you have to know that if I'm adding, I multiply, right? I'm going to multiply 12 and 2. Well, what's 12 times 2? 24. And just to check, I would check this because sometimes, either myself or whoever you're taking the test for can be tricky. My base has to stay the same. My base doesn't change just because I condense the logs. So that is right. My answer is F. Alright, now I'm expanding, okay? The exact opposite. So I do 1/2 and 1/2, right? So that would give me log 12. Half of 4 is 2, and then z is just 1/2 because there's no number there. And remember, if I'm dividing, I'm subtracting. So first thing I'm going to do is these that are adding are wrong. Okay, I have to be subtracting, but then also look at my exponents. I have 2 and 1/2. Those numbers need to be in front. So I should have a 2 and a 1/2, not a 4. Okay, so that one's wrong. B is correct. And then of course, again, just because I can be sneaky, my bases are the same. That's correct. So it is B. Alright, domain and range of my function. This is an exponential function. And you might be thinking, how can you tell? Well, if there's no log like this one, it's exponential. So for exponential functions, remember on these, my domain is always all real numbers, and my range is y is greater than k. Okay, here's k, that's 17. So my domain should be all real numbers. My range should be greater than 17. So first off, domain is all real numbers. That's wrong. That's wrong. Okay, these two are okay. And then my y is greater than 17. That's k. There's 17. That's not. So my answer is S. And one thing you might want to pay attention to also, because it's got some people on the last test, this symbol for exponential functions can never be underlined, ever. So if you see one that's underlined, if it happened to be, it would be wrong. Okay? So never underline these. And the same goes for domain and range of logs. You never underline the inequality. But as long as you know one of these, so if I know exponential is the domain and range like that, for logs, I just flip them. So instead of domain being all real numbers, for logs, my range is all real numbers. Instead of range being y equals greater than k, my domain, I can't do y because domain is x, so I do x is greater than h. H, remember, is in the parentheses, and it flips. So negative 19 becomes positive 19. So first off, range is all real numbers. That's wrong, that's wrong. Those are okay. And then x is greater than 19. That's wrong, that's okay. So it's D. And it's not underlined. So very, very small detail, but you got to pay attention. All right, last one on this page, 10. Evaluate. So if you remember to evaluate, all we do is do equals x and then convert. So to convert, I have b, I have a, I have x, and I want b to the x equals a. All right, so b, 1/2 to the x equals 32. And I want to get a common base. Well, I don't want fractions because I can't work with that. So I'm going to flip that fraction to be positive 2. And remember, when you flip a number, you just add a negative on the exponent. And now, look, I can make 32 into a 2, right? 32 is simply 2 to the 5th power. Now I can get rid of those 2's. Let's move over here. I have negative x equals 5. So, because I don't want a negative, I divide by negative 1. That makes them positive. So I should have x equals negative 5. And that's P. So look at that. In less than 8 minutes, I have done 10 questions with explaining and showing my work. Because if you know what you're doing, these questions, at least the first 10, do not take a very long time to do. The multiple choice are always meant to be done a lot faster than the last 5, which is why you must show your work to receive credit. So some of y'all keep wondering why you're not getting very many points on these. If you just write an answer, the right answer is worth 1 point out of 10. Don't do that. You're throwing away 9 points for nothing. Plus, that means you probably looked up the answer or scanned it with photo math. So either way, you get 1 point for the right answer. Congratulations, you can use your phone. I'm not testing you on that. All right, so most of your time should be spent on these last 5 questions. The first 10, you shouldn't be spending too much time on them, hopefully, because they're meant to be done a lot faster, which is why they're multiple choice, because there's very little to no work that needs to be shown to find the answer. However, on these, there is a lot of work to be shown on these, which is why you have some space to do some of these questions. So let's go through how to do them. First one, using a common base. That tells me right there I need all of them to be the same base number. Now, I have written all these questions myself, and so I can definitely tell you that if you're listening to this, you have a little hint on these. The number is always going to be in the problem already, my common base. So 18 is my common base. It can't be the bigger number anyways. It has to be the smaller. Okay? So your number's already in the question. I did that on purpose to kind of speed up some time, but you still have to convert 2 of them. 1 of them you do not have to. So let's go from there. All right, so 324 I can change to 18, right? That is 18 squared. And then I just do parentheses and then write my exponent. Now let's do the next one, times 1 over 18, okay, I don't want the fraction, right? So I flip the fraction, and I put a negative 1, and then parentheses, I write my exponent. Now, if you're doing this practice test, you're writing these answers down and you're listening to me explain, this is exactly the same format that the test is in. So you do the same thing, I just changed the numbers, okay? And then, of course, equals this 18, I don't have to change, so I just write that one exactly how it is. Okay, look, I have a common base. All 18s, I can cross all 3 out. Okay, now I write just my exponents for all of my questions. And I can go from there. So I have 2 times 13x minus 11. Now remember, anytime you see a times, it's actually plus from my exponents, right? But I'm adding a negative 1. So I'm going to do minus 1, 6 minus 4x equals 5x plus 47. Now I'm just solving for x like normal. First thing I have to do is distribute. Alright, so 2 times 13, 26. 2 times negative 11, minus 22. Negative 1 times 6, negative 6. Negative 1 times negative 4, plus 4x. Alright, so that's just simple multiplying. Now, I combine like terms. Again, I wrote all the tests. I know what they all look like. You're going to have to do this exact thing. So if you know what to do, that will save you time. Then it's just doing it correctly. So make sure you combine like terms correctly. I have 26x plus 4x. That gives me 30x. I have minus 22 minus 6. That gives me minus 28 because they're both negative, right? Equals 5x plus 47. Now you want to move x, all the x's to one side. I move the smallest x every time just to make it positive. You don't have to, but it definitely makes it easier. And plus, some of y'all keep using photomath and they do things in such a weird, very specific manner that, to be honest, no one ever does it the way that photomath does it for the most part. So it's very easy to tell when you do 20,000 extra steps and they look nothing like anything I've ever taught you or any textbook I've ever seen. So, just putting that out there. If you use it, I can tell. Plus, I have photomath on my phone and I scan the question, and if your work is like, come on, don't do that. 30 minus 5 is 25. 47 plus 28, that'd be, let's see, equals. That's a 5, 4, 5, 6, 7, 75. So let's go over here. I got 25. X equals 75. And I'm going to divide by 25. Yay! So my answer, x equals 3. So again, if you know what to do, it really doesn't take you very long. You just got to be careful with the multiplying, adding, subtracting. Be careful with that, because some of the mistakes you're making are small ones like that, which if you just add or subtract something wrong, but all your other work is correct, I'm only going to take off a point, maybe 2. But if you totally screw up a whole bunch of stuff, or you forget to even make a common base, or I can definitely tell that your work is not your work, then you're going to have an issue. So just knowing what to do and doing it, again, not necessarily because you get the wrong answer, just because you subtracted wrong somewhere, you're still going to get most of your points. Because then you showed me you understand how to do the problem, which is the whole point of the test. I want to know you understand how to do it. The right answer isn't worth much to me. Again, if you just put the answer, that's a 1 point out of 10. I would rather do the work and even make a few minor mathematical errors and get 8 or 9 points versus just put the right answer and get 1. It's not worth it. Alright, next one, solve the equation. Okay, I have natural logs, so you're either going to see natural logs or regular logs. Either way, I need to condense all the logs into 1 on each side, and then I can solve, okay? So look, on the left side, if I'm looking at that, I already have 1 log. Okay, I don't have to do anything on the left. It's everything on the right side. So this number in the front has to become the exponent, and I can go from there. So let's do that. I have natural log 17x plus 31 equals natural log 256 to the 1/4 plus natural log of x plus 50. Alright, now, if I have an exponent, I have to actually do something with that. I can't just leave it there. So remember, if I have a fraction, that's the same thing as saying the root of, okay, 4th root of 256 is 4. So if you need that list of squares, cubes, and fourths, have it out. That's fine. I don't expect you to memorize all those. So this one's actually natural log of 4. Okay. So just to show some work, just so you know what I'm doing. So this did not change, and this one did not change either. Alright, now I got to condense these logs on the right because I have 2. I only want 1. Because I'm adding, I multiply 4 times x plus 50. So that gives me, the left side did not change, equals natural log, and then I got 4 times x plus 50. Alright, now that I have 1 log on each side, I get rid of those, and then I can solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and move it over here. So I have 17x plus 31 equals 4 times x plus 50. Okay, so I solve for x like normal. I distribute my 4. That gives me 17x minus 31, or plus, sorry, that didn't change. And 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 50 is 200. Oh, I don't know. I don't need that. And again, I know I make these numbers kind of higher. The test, the numbers aren't this high. But I try to challenge you on the review and the practice test, because if you can do these and understand these just fine, the test will be easier because the numbers are smaller. I'm doing the same thing, and again, that's the whole point. It's the process. It's not necessarily the answer, but it's knowing what to do and how to solve it. Alright, moving on. So I want to solve for x. I move the smallest x over. So if I move 4x over here, this 31 goes over here. That gives me 13x equals 200 minus 31 is 169. And lastly, I divide by 13. So if you know your perfect squares, so 169 divided by 13 is 13, because 13 squared is 169. So that's number 12. See, that's not a whole lot of work. And again, the biggest thing is I needed to know the 4th root of 256, and I had to know 169 divided by 13. Other than that, it was very basic on what I had to do. It was more of rewriting things correctly and then solving for x correctly. Okay? Alright, next one. Solve the equation. So I'm just giving a simple log equals a number. So, and again, test is the same way. I have my base, I have my a, I have my x. I want to convert right away. That's the first thing I gotta do. I want b to the x equals a, and then I can solve for x. So let's do that. So my b is 5, and then my exponent is now 4, equals, and then whatever's in parentheses over here. Alright, again, I can't leave that exponent sitting there, so I do 5 to the 4th is 625. I'm pretty sure the test, the number, it's not that high. Okay, so that doesn't change. Now, I just solve for x. So, I subtract 25, subtract 25. So, that would be 600 equals 20x. And then lastly, I divide by 20. So, zeros go away, and 2 goes into 60 30 times. And that's it. So that was very little work. Not very, I mean, what was that? 2, 3 steps the most? Convert, subtract, divide, 3 steps. 3 steps and I'm done. So don't let the question intimidate you just because it looks confusing. Again, if you've done the practice and you know what to do, as soon as you see that, you know to convert. The rest of it's simple. Okay? This is why the homework is important. Even though it's not a grade, it's intended for you to practice so that you can become confident and be successful in the future. Okay? Alright, solve the equation and leave in log form. That is important. I don't put that there for no reason. So, leave in log form. Alright, if you remember these, I need to get the base and my exponent by itself, which means I have to move this 8 and this minus 2. Then I can convert to log, okay? So first thing I have to do is add 2. So remember, you have to add and subtract before you can multiply or divide when solving for any variable. So I'm going to have 8 times 19, 3x minus 1, equals 30 plus 2 is now 32. Okay, now I can get rid of this 8 because it's 8 times. I would do divide by 8. That would get rid of it. Okay, so now I have 19, 3x minus 1 equals 32 divided by 8 is 4. Awesome. Now I can convert. Okay, so if you remember, we have base, exponent, a, and I want log base of a equals exponent. Okay, so let's write that. I have log, base is 19, my a is 4, equals 3x, oh, not minus, I'm thinking ahead. It's okay. 3x minus 1. Alright, now I can solve for x. So first thing you do is add 1 to both sides, and remember, you cannot change the log. So I have log 19 of 4, and then you do the plus 1 outside the parentheses. That's why I always write parentheses, that way I don't ever forget. Because you don't want to accidentally add 4 plus 1 and do log 19 of 5, then you're way off, okay? Alright, last thing, I have times 3, so I want to divide by 3, this whole thing. And remember, I can't change the log, I can't reduce, can't do any of that, so my whole answer is actually just going to be log 19 of 4 plus 1 divided by 3, all of that equals x. And that's just how I leave my answer. That would be in log form. That's exactly what I want. Okay? So again, that's not a whole lot of work. I have a lot of space, but it's really not too many steps, okay? Because what I added, divided, converted, and then added, divided, like that was it. So 5 things. 2 of them were just repetition. And then I'm good. Alright, last question. I want to solve and leave in exact form. Okay, exact form meaning I don't want a decimal. And if you notice, I have natural log. So when I convert it, I'm going to end up with e, and e is irrational, so I want to leave it as e. So just like with the logs earlier, I got to condense my natural logs into 1. So this 2 comes up here, and so I would have natural log of 10 squared plus natural log of 5x equals 31. Alright, 10 squared is 100, okay? So I change that to 100. Now, I want to condense these into 1. So because I'm adding, I multiply 100 and 5x. So natural log of 100 times 5x gives me 31. Alright, if you want to, you can go ahead and just multiply those. Whoa, not 100. So 100 times 5 is 500x equals 31. Now I can convert. Alright, so remember, natural log, my base is e, and then I have my a and my x, and the way I'll convert this is e to the x equals a. So just like exponential and regular logs, right? Alright, so let's convert this. I would have e to my exponent is now 31 equals 500x. Sweet. Now, I just want to solve for x. So, I don't have to add or subtract anything. I only have to divide. So I just divide by 500. Divide by 500. And because I want exact form, I would just leave it like that. So my answer is e to the 31 power equals, e to the 31 power divided by 500 equals x. And of course, if you had adding and subtracting, you would have that in there too, just like before. But I want to leave it just like that. I don't want a decimal. I don't care that you can type it in the calculator. Anybody can do that. And that's the practice test. I would still do the review, or at least look over the review, and if you need to, look at my answers with the work, because I can only put so much on a practice test, but the review has a few more things that are a little different. Either way, you could see any of that stuff on the actual test. So be sure to look at everything and ask questions if you have it.